These are the last two Terminators, from which I needed to get full cells, from to launch a rocket to escape the island, and this is me, which came to one in the last episode, so I am continuing. At first, I threw mines at him, but instead he set me on fire, and basically didn't move, so as not to step on the mines. I was running out of ammunition, and the temperature was dropping, so I had to move away to warm up. It's so good I learned to castle the hills, otherwise it would have been like last time, but the lack of ammunition made itself felt, so I went to extreme measures. The battle was going well, but in the end he's made a barbecue out of me. In the second take I finally managed to lift up his ass, although in the end I achieved a barrier effect. But at the end real hell began, because it was almost impossible to snack on this Terminator. And he was standing at the exit from the area, but after catching a couple of good moments, I was still able to break him, so the fuel cell was finally assembled. The battle was so intense that in the next room I had flashbacks to these bosses. Okay, having installed the penultimate fuel cell, logically enough, all that was left for me to survive to extreme heat to get the last fuel cell. First, I found a potential entrance that did lead me to this region. After going around the perimeter of the territory, I realized that it wouldn't be that easy to get there, but wait, the part for the train should be right here. When I arrived at the coordinates, I found a letter, and while trying to find the details with it, I instead passed by the potential cargo more than once, but after sniffing every houses, well as each, there are basically two of them here. I still did return here, so now I can return even by a shorter route. But in really, I had to cut down hectares of the forest for the bridge, so while it was crafting, I decided to complete a reward from the hub, for which I was able to discover all the secrets of the region. But after completing them, I came across a quest that required digging up caches. Only I had dug them up a long time ago, so I was hoping that the quest would be counted, but instead it was not counted. Okay, as a reward for testing this, I was ordered to find all such teleporter. I would have took them to back off, but I ended up backing off there myself. Okay, everything is ready for the bridge, so on the way I just turned on the obelisk, which I had encountered more than once. But it wasn't fast either, because it looked like a front, although the reward lived up to my expectations, and also gave an eternal boost. Okay, finally reached to the train before it turned into a pile of rust. Arriving at the base, I was again greeted by a quest, for which I needed to go to the edge of the region, but tell me, what do you need to be so far away? So I completely blew it off, and continued moving forward, until I came across Somi military base. It had security everywhere, although there were also holes. There were no ends to the zombies, either also as in their minuses. Okay, I turned on the tower and connected the all modifications. Now all that's left is to clear the area of the zombies and open the gate. Before the boss, I also upgraded the sledgehammer and replaced the dog. Although there were also defense around the boss itself, but that's not a problem. In battle, I started using a grenade, which was imbalanced, also and it depended on accuracy, but the boss on C was easier, to my surprise. In parallel, I also set off to complete this quest. Although the guards were strong, but with my level it didn't matter, just took some time. So I replaced one quest with another and also unlocked a time accelerator. The quest was easy, but it was actually a roller coaster that after killing everyone would transport me to others. So as a reward I could open these teleports, but that required a chunk of mana. Okay, I back to the rocket and install the last of the fuel cell. So, after a couple thousand years, I can finally leave this space. Why the hell did it disappear? Aha, who rocket at the Corona station, which I still have to get to. This is how I understood it, the most important station, since it is the one that is heard on all the radios. Okay, I immediately headed to it, or at least to the catacombs beneath it, which essentially looked like a labyrinth. Since the difference in rewards in the caches, I decided to take them all up. At first everything went well, but at least until the deaths, from which I lost part of the loot, but as far as I know, things with mana cannot be lost. Eventually I reached the exit, but in fact I came out the other side. I also reached the terminal, which, to my surprise, I had to reach, but I didn't know it, because I was walking straight ahead. When I entered the inside, I immediately fell into a heaven, and I also took the turret with me, and this, as I understood, will always be the case. But then, thinking about it, I realized that the helmet has a spell on the universe. After killing the zombies, I decided didn't go into the elevator, because there was one NO place left on the map, where there might be a stash. But in fact, there was a boss here. At first glance, difficult, but it's just a pumped up version of the past, which can also be stunned and shot. Although I haven't collected everything yet, but it's a quest for the endgame. So I went inside, even though it was a retest because the enemies respawned. Okay, I arrived at the Corona station, which looks like a combat training ground, which is logical, cause it's the island's control center. On the way to the main communication tower, I came across a place for a helicopter and a passage to a rocket, and also found the forces of the kind himself. Barely reached the tower, in addition to installing the modules, I opened this fortress. There didn't look like a luxurious throne room, but more like a cave of primitive people. There wasn't even a throne. What kind of king was he then? Okay, but there were the shards and pieces of mana that I needed, and also the tablets. Well, now I know for sure that all humans remained cave creatures who would rule on these tablets. I mind blowing how the characters runs in any bit of world. What if I take a slower? I ain't gonna draw too. On the way to the rocket, I opened a speedrun safe, but what I different didn't exist was a mana sphere, because they usually draw from bosses and tombs. The lower passage was destroyed, but instead there was a unpair one, which again required a cure, from which I had to return to Kain's fortress, and now I finally reached the rocket. Here I need everything from mana, although I could collect them, but I'll do it in parallel. And just there was a quest nearby, who using a drone moved me to the other side of the region. Now I have to go through this testing phase. Everything here was like at the front. Rockets were flying, mines were exploding, and the swamps were so deep that you could easily drown. Making my way between sniper turrets, I seen a new type of zombie, as well as their alpha version. Continuing to move forward, everything on a case momentum. And the culmination was the queue. Also in reality it wasn't the queue itself or the passage to it, but just a boss. Although boss wasn't really difficult, as I had started its weak version well. The most important thing from here was the reward, which was a food, because it doubled the drop rate of any materials, except legendary ones, although it required a legendary fish. to get all this, I decided to complete one of the two biggest quests. If the materials are still here, so when I arrive at the location, I going down. But what will happen in this cave, you will see in the next episode.